Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur, and in year 8, we're taking head on two of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sananda Jayasheelan, a very special India Fights Coronavirus series that we're bringing you here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, talking about the different aspects of business that you, the small business owner, should be putting in place in what is fast becoming the new normal. Let me quickly introduce my panelists to you tonight. First and foremost is the CEO of the MIDC, the Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation, P. Anbalagan. We also have Senior Director and Head India Market Development at NASSCOM, Gaurav Hazra, and Bhavjot Kaur of Clinikk. Mr. Anbalagan, Gaurav Hazra, Bhavjot, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today on this panel where we are breaking down the impact of the coronavirus as far as small businesses are concerned. Such a pleasure having the three of you. And I want to start with you first, Mr. Anbalagan. We're sitting, of course, at a time which is anything but normal, but businesses are slowly coming back to normalcy. So let's start today's panel by first and foremost asking you, now that we have you here with us on the Leaders of Tomorrow, if there is one thing that through this interview, through this panel discussion, you want for us small businesses to know about the unusual times that we're in, about business continuity and planning, just one thing that you want to kick this panel off with.
First and foremost thing is the issue of a liquidity. For any MSME which normally operate in a production cycle of 3 months, not more than that. So my numbers are also going to be like whatever I put, I should get within 3 months. And some of the micro enterprises do it on like a monthly, weekly. So like the cycle, business cycle is a very small thing. So liquidity is a big issue because almost I would say if not more than 2 months, and past 2 months, literally there I would say the minimal production and there is no cash in hand. So the first and foremost thing is to improve the liquidity. I would say like couple of thought process also from the MSMEs and also various associations that maybe there should be some sort of sharing as far as the salary bill of MSMEs for at least 2 months, maybe 25 to 30%. The numbers are like very huge. Like even like Maharashtra has, I would say, 16 lakh MSMEs. Out of that, 6 lakhs are only into manufacturing. So that is a one thing where government can chip in. Secondly, I would say I also need money for my working capital. So I need to have a more fund to keep my business running. So in that case, like the suggestion is like 20 to 25% of the credit in the form of maybe OD, cash credit, or also loan, also to be given to MSMEs from financial institutions and non-banking finance companies. And of course, with a rescheduling period of at least for the repayment period of at least an year. These two things will reasonably can inject the liquidity. Second, deferring all the government dues, like be it a GST, maybe an IT, and also EPF, PF, ESI, all those which are due to government also can be deferred. These two things. Third will be all those are due to me, like from the government, from a bigger vendor, or maybe from that also to be given to me. Like I would say, industrial promotion subsidy, or maybe a tax refund, like input credit refund, maybe even income tax refund, all need to be given back on a very, very prescribed time schedule. So these three measures will reasonably will improve the liquidity of MSME.
Gaurav Hazra, let me come to you next and talk about the fact that, while I've been constantly following the updates that NASSCOM as a body has been putting out on Twitter, I want to come to you to sort of kickstart and what your opening comments are really for anyone who is in the tech space, for a startup, for an MSME, for an SME, as NASSCOM. What is your advisory really for small businesses? Of course, it's not possible to give too much of a future outlook given where we are at this point. But what's the sort of advisory that you would want to sort of kick this panel off with?
So liquidity crisis is the top of the agenda for NASSCOM, and we're working with the government to try and simplify it as much as possible. For example, one of the top asks that NASSCOM had was to release all the pending refunds from all regulatory bodies, whether it's GST, IT, income tax, or customs, to assess so that they have a little more cash in hand. Look at a little bit of help on EPF, little bit of help on salary wage bill and things like that. But from an advisory perspective, I think a broad advisory is to stay safe. And NASSCOM's advisory has been very consistent that while we are all trying to battle a liquidity crisis, we are all trying to battle business slowdown across the globe. But in this situation, the most important thing for all companies, small and large, is to make sure that we have minimum presence outside our homes, enable work from home as much as possible, be extremely moderate and lenient to all your employees. Employee safety is on the top of the agenda.
Okay. Bhavjot, before I come to you and talk about, what small businesses, what startups like yours, and what entrepreneurs basically are really doing in the situation that we're in, I want to ask you to very briefly talk about the business that you do. And, it's primarily, of course, being driven by all the advancements that we're seeing in technology and digital. So maybe you can start off your answer by very briefly talking about your business.
Okay, great. So, Clinikk has been in the front line of providing top-notch primary healthcare coupled with financial protection to essentially those 600 million people who don't have any sort of access to a good quality healthcare, and for any sort of insurance or any sort of financial protection for themselves and their families. So, if you look at the healthcare experience today, like even the pre-coronavirus time, if you're talking about, so a person would stand in line, for waiting to meet a doctor, and the average time that a doctor would spend with patient would be just around 2 minutes, hardly 2 minutes. And the other thing that we see is that 56.7% of the doctors who write prescriptions are not even qualified medical professionals. And the customer segment that we are speaking about is the one who is most impacted by not having good primary healthcare options in this country. It's a complete void space, and we need technology-backed solutions to kind of solve for that. Along with the primary healthcare, we are also providing pocket-size insurance and health protection plans to families who don't have any sort of financial protection available for themselves and their families. It becomes extremely relevant in today's time, especially because, the customers that we are serving are the ones who are most impacted by the coronavirus situation. So they are the self-employed people earning anywhere between 20 to 40,000 rupees per month, and are in the front line of doing very difficult businesses.
Sure, fair enough. Gaurav, so this is the same question is coming to you. On one hand, for the tech industry, if you're looking at what's really going on in the tech space, TCS, for instance, is leading the way when it comes to work from home, trying to champion more and more ways in which its employees can work from home. That's on one hand. On the other hand, we're reading daily reports of, salaries being frozen, more and more people being moved to the bench, job cuts perhaps. How do you see the situation really panning out then for small businesses, given the stringent sort of guidelines that are coming in as we speak about how small businesses which are looking to restart, which are looking at coming back to normalcy in some sense, should be maintaining checks and balances at their workplace and managing the cost really?
Small businesses are rapidly losing contracts. Customers are invoking force majeure across the world, revoking contracts and freezing payments. So we have to look at the revenue streams for small businesses drying up very, very fast. On the other side, and it is very important to understand that small businesses do not have a very long runway to continue to pay wage bills and continue to sustain their operational expenses. They have a very small runway. Runway is the amount of money that they can sustain without revenue inflow. On the other side, you have this large wage bill because tech SMEs or IT SMEs essentially have all of their cost, nearly 80% of their cost tied up in wage bills. It is very, very important that a comprehensive relief come for SMEs. Technology SMEs are very different than non-tech SMEs, as I said, and there is an absolute need of looking at working capital in an easy manner for based SMEs. Technology SMEs do not have assets like manufacturing SMEs who have plant and machinery, factories and land, which they can use as collateral to borrow. IT SMEs do not have all of these. So for IT SMEs, unsecured working capital is very, very important. First, and the foremost thing is government needs to pay out all the money against all invoices due to IT SMEs. Any government project where money is due needs to be paid right now. because that is really crucial for liquidity. This is not even relief, this is not even stimulus. It is just about paying the money that is due to the SME. This is an immediate measure. At the same time, there has to be EPA waivers, say for 6 months, doing a bit of a relief on the wage bill so that jobs can be protected. While we all want to protect as many jobs as possible, situation is becoming little and more and more difficult, and the industry will try and minimize job losses. Having said that, it is a difficult time, so not everything is going to be happy and pleasant.
Let's slip into a short break on that note. Much more on the other side. To stay tuned. Back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight bringing you an India Fights Coronavirus special as far as business planning and continuity is concerned for small businesses. Mr. Anbalagan, what is your suggestion or advice really for MSMEs and SMEs which are, which are owed monies by their vendors? While the government, of course, under the MSME Act has said that banks, for instance, or anyone who has an outstanding to small businesses, they've set that window of 90 to 120 days. Payments have to come in. For a third-party vendor, an MSME that's working with a vendor, how do they ensure for working capital, etc., that its money is going to continue coming in? What sort of measures perhaps should the government be looking at or putting in place?
One is reasonably, which like Gaurav also mentioned, like industrial promotion subsidies, one thing, and all the refunds. That refunds may not be a big number, but of course GST input credit is again quite reasonably a big numbers. So industrial promotion subsidy is one thing which is reasonably a big number for MSMEs. So that is a one thing where like it's with every state government should chip in and see that like their dues are being given on time. Second is like, of course, like typically when we talk of MSME, reviving MSMEs, also we need to do that. The similar kind of course strategy is also there for the larger units, larger anchor units. Like even if there are like maybe an A, B, C is there, and A being an anchor unit and B being the middle party and C being the vendor. In that case, again, the cycle has to be complete. One thing which we also missed out, there are like government dues also there, like EPF, PF, PSI contributions. That also can be deferred, and where the government or maybe employer contribution, particularly bigger thing, also can be checked. Also, there are certain expenditures which are continuously reviving, like water bills, particularly in food processing industry, even electricity, like a foundry, small foundries, they take to almost close to around 25 to 30% of the expenditure. So, to revive, particularly where I am showing the work efficiency, bringing in innovation, minimum workforce, I'm going in multiple shifts, then those units need to be like incentivized. Maybe anybody using like if I have a connected load of maybe 100 for an electricity, if I am using a 85, 90, then I should be incentivized by way of maybe a reduction in a rebate or maybe a tariff. So that way we need to do it all via. Then really we need to get MSMEs on board.
Bhavjot, let me come to you and talk about what are entrepreneurs like yourself doing to ensure business continuity in this, in a situation like this, in a time like this?
Sure. So I think the most important part here is the safety of the employees and their families. They have always been contributing towards the organization, and it becomes super important for us to look out for them and ensure that they are in a safe environment. So work from home is an absolute must in our organization, except for the frontline doctors who have to be at the centers with protection units, etc. Apart from that, nobody else is working from office. So that's the first most important thing. The other thing is that ensuring that as we had a detailed discussion initially also about it, ensuring that we try to minimize any loss to their wages and all sort of cost cutting, etc. To not impact them directly. Also, in our case, the situation is slightly different because unlike a couple of other organizations, we are actually at a point where we have too much of demand to cater to. So we are working really busy hours, and our organization, it's a small team, right? So they are putting in extra hours, going extra length to be able to serve as many Indians as possible. So it more so importantly, it becomes that even though you have to balance the cost part of situation, you also have to balance the fact that, they get the due for the hard work that they are putting in to serve so many people out here. So for business continuity perspective, ensuring that they are in a safe environment. B, ensuring that the company is having enough runway, right, to be able to support the functioning in coming months. So one of the things that, for a B2B, a company which provides products to businesses and through partnerships goes on to distribution, the money collection part is, so sometimes the organization might not pay you in time, and we have to be prepared for that. So it's important that we have enough money in the bank to sustain us for at least 12 to 18 months. So that's the second most important thing. And the third important thing is instilling the confidence in people that post coronavirus, hopefully when things are okay, maintaining the whole safety, hygiene, and maintaining those norms as a part of your own behavior. So these are the kind of things that we are inculcating in our organization. And when I look at my peers, they are also focusing a lot on employee mental wellness, their health and the health of their family members, because that comes supremely first. At any point of time, we cannot risk anyone getting exposed to a medical risk at this point of time.
I want to end tonight's panel by talking about the outlook for 2020. I know it's difficult because things are unfolding as we speak. But if there's one thing that you would like to leave our viewers with, let me come to you first, Mr. Anbalagan. What would you like to tell someone who's a small business watching this interview to say, if you're looking at planning for your business, you're looking at business continuity not being impacted, no matter what the situation is, keeping in mind that, the NPA situation is not looking good, keeping in mind, of course, that business is slowly limping back to normalcy. What should a robust strategy or a robust plan for a small business for the rest of the year look like?
I would say like improving my one's cash reserve, the main thing which I would advise all the MSMEs, which normally we don't do that. So secondly, also bring in lot of elements of innovation. For example, now we are missing out in the sector of medical diagnostics and like intensive care equipments. So there are sectors also. This, I would say, this COVID is again an opportunity to dwell upon in a new arena of business. I would say where like still we get around 90% of our medical equipments from the outsourcing. So there are like always a chance to thrive upon. Of course, we need to have a strong financial to build upon any business. And government is there in this moment, I would say, from state government of Maharashtra and also from central government. Government is there to chip in, and we are having a great hope. I think we will tide over this.
AI, VR, digital, machine learning, IoT, cloud, so much is available when it comes to technology. Gaurav, how much of this do you advise for small businesses to start looking at seriously? How much of this should organizations look at implementing at their places of work when it comes to the future of work and how that's really changing? You were speaking about work from home, but what is the new normal in your mind looking like for the rest of 2020 for SMEs and MSMEs, Gaurav?
I think this is the time when this part of the SME ecosystem has to adopt technology, and it has been slightly, unfortunate and slightly slow that tech adoption in the small manufacturing companies has been very, very low. But this situation had, in my opinion, opens up opportunities for them to use more tech into their business and make it more robust and be more competitive. On the tech SME side, I think this is a time where people can probably look at a post-COVID opportunity plan. And I'm sure, a lot of people are doing that today. While the next couple of months will go into, firefighting, making sure that we have the capital to run, making sure that we keep people safe. But to me, this phase will go away, maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months, and there would be a time when we'll suddenly see opportunities. And if we are not ready in terms of our planning to handle those opportunities, we will lose far more business than probably we're losing now. So, in my opinion, tech SMEs, while they continue to battle their day-to-day survival issues in this near future, it is also important that we also look at the positive side of what is in store after this situation goes away, and start planning for that. Start building an organization which is beyond COVID.
Okay. Bhavjot, I'll let you have the last word. You are, of course, in an industry, perhaps one of the very few that are seeing some of the benefits really coming out of the situation, if I can call it benefits really, of the situation that we're in. But that being said, if you can use this platform to really talk to entrepreneurs in terms of, whether it's fundraising, whether it's putting in place just that strategy to ensure that your business is then, surviving, is sailing through really over the next couple of months for the rest of 2020, what would it be?
So essentially, we understand that there are a few sectors which are going to gain out of it, specifically the digital-only setups. So it's important for the organizations to ensure that how can they leverage to build for these, use cases to be more relevant in today's, short-term view. But I think, as Gaurav was mentioning earlier, right, it's important to have a longer-term perspective. And so building for the future is what we should think about today. But having said that, in the near term, we have to focus on absolute core fundamentals and ensure that we are only focusing on issues which can give us quick returns, good cash flows, good upfront cash flows, reducing our credit lines, ensuring that, we are not burning too much of money as we would burn earlier. So the whole burn equation of VC funded startups like burning money, will have to ensure that, the burn is optimal and we are only spending where it is prudent for us to actually, spend and gain immediate returns from and in the longer run to understand post-coronavirus situation, when those user behaviors are inculcated, how does our product fit in that scenario? So say, for example, in terms of telemedicine, right? We have seen a very big uptick in terms of people adopting telemedicine before. Otherwise,
Sure.
Talking to a doctor was like, why will I talk to a doctor on phone? I will just go and visit them. But now suddenly things have changed. So similarly, we expect that this behavior is not going to disappear. So how do we capitalize on that? And I'm sure for every organization in this period, there is an opportunity which they will have to unlock for themselves and ensure that they are more future ready.
That's all the time we have tonight for you on this panel discussion. Do send us your thoughts, your feedback, any questions you may have for our experts. Our contact details are on your screens in just a moment. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.